Welcome, my friends, to the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast. I'm Deborah Deras, your host. Each week, you'll hear from top experts in the speaking industry who will share their insider secrets. Learn what works and what doesn't by hearing real stories of success and failure. My intention is to be your speaking coach to help you reach your goals faster and easier. I believe you are the messenger for the message. So thanks for tuning in, and let's get started. Welcome back to another great episode of the Be a Paid Speaker Now. This is being sponsored by Ignite Your Speaking online community. This is to inspire, motivate, and transform your speaking career by giving you not lunch and learns, but lunch and earn, where by webinar, you can learn secrets and strategies of professional, well-paid speakers to be able to turn your expertise into another stream of income or a career if you like. This is starting in September of 2018. So if you're interested to go back to school and allow yourself the strategies and skills to be able to be paid to speak, this community is for you. It is a Facebook group. It is webinars via Zoom, so you can do it wherever, whenever, however, with the Deborah Deras, your speaking coach. How do you register? Go to igniteyourspeaking.com. That's IGNITE, yourspeaking.com. And welcome back to another great episode of the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast. I am so excited to be able to do this special episode. This is Encore by request, giving you the tools and strategies to prepare your keynote speech. I really want to thank Philip North. This was a question that was brought to me by him. And I want to thank all of you for your reviews on iTunes and Google Play, for all the comments and inbox messages I get saying how much you love the podcast. And please share it out with friends. Let other people know, because what would the world be like if everybody was a messenger, spreading their expertise, their transformational message, their content and expertise on the planet? It would be a different world. And that's what I am focused and committed to facilitating to co-create. So Philip was asking me, where do I get my content for my speeches? And I will tell you, for those of you that do not know, I am the co-author of a book called Confessions of an Adrenaline Addict. And the subtitle is How to Achieve More with Less Effort. And it's 7 principles to be able to increase your performance, productivity, and to get yourself back on your calendar. And when I first started speaking, I didn't have that book. I just had a lot of ideas in my head. I had been working for the state of California Department of Rehabilitation for about 7 years, and then Epilepsy Foundation and Goodwill Industries before that. So I had about 11 years of experience facilitating workshops, doing group coaching, and speaking to very small groups, but 11 years of it. And I was doing a train the trainer program where I facilitated a 5-day, 8-hour workshop. Oh my God, if that's not hard, I don't know what is. And I also was younger than most of the people I was teaching. I was in my 20s at that time, and everybody in my class was in their 40s and 50s. And I was teaching them how to help people with disabilities to get jobs. And it was the best boot camp. It taught me about content. It taught me how to organize content, how to create content, how to facilitate content. And those courses, for the most part, that the 40-hour course, it was somebody else's content, but it inspired me to create my own content to help people find jobs. And I created a curriculum that was helping counselors to employ people with disabilities. And it was so super successful. And how that content came to me, you're ready for it? Through a divine download. A divine what? That's right, a divine download. And I know you're thinking, what the heck are you talking about? What is a divine download, and how can I get the app? Well, my friends, A divine download is actually your higher self. You could call it your intuition. You could call it your super conscious mind, which is your genius potential. Carl Jung talked about, our conscious mind is what we're aware of. Subconscious mind are all those thoughts under the surface. But the super conscious mind is our infinite genius potential. And I call it my divine downloads. This is where I have a whiteboard, it's empty. And before you know it, I am filling it up with ideas that are just inspired. It's literally inspired, and it's not like I'm thinking about it and I have a piece of paper and I'm uploading it to the brain, to the empty whiteboard of my consciousness. No. I am in a place, and I have a process for this. I usually take a walk on the beach or a walk out in nature or do some sort of exercise, because I don't know if you're aware of this. Steve Jobs used to do this on a regular basis. He would walk every single day in, I think, his town of Mountain View up north in Northern California. And he would meditate for hours, just to get in that place of genius consciousness. I don't do hours, but I do minutes. So I'll spend about, 17 minutes, 18 minutes, depending on the day, 8 minutes. And I'll do a chant. I love the Gayatri mantra. I also love Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. I'm not in the Buddhist religion or in the Hindu religion or any particular sect. I'm a New Age metaphysical person, even though I was raised Jewish. But these chants, which one of them is in Sanskrit, and one of them, the Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, um, is the Buddhist chant. It's a powerful way to synchronize your life and to get yourself into alignment, to be in the right place at the right time with the right opportunities. And as a speaker, that's really, really important. And I was living with someone that had gone through just a hard life. Her husband had died. She was given a blood transfusion from him and ended up getting diagnosed with HIV and AIDS, and was speaking about her story and how she had no symptoms of having AIDS because of chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. And she was the one that inspired me to chant it on a regular basis, because I could feel the peace that was resonating from her as a result of this chant, even though she'd been through such a hard life with all of these tragedies and dealing with her own potential sickness, which the whole time I knew her, she never had many symptoms of it, just very mild symptoms. So when we think about content and where do we get it from, I believe we get it from within us. Yes, as experts, we've read a lot of books. In fact, they define expert is if you've read more than 3 books on a subject. That's what I read. If you've read more than 3 books on a subject, you are a subject matter expert. I consider yourself to be an expert if you are someone that lives and breathes it. You wrote a book about it, you wrote articles about it, you've been in the industry for a while. It's a very subjective definition. But in the speaking industry, we call ourselves experts. So you define that the way you see fit. So the content that I was getting in the beginning before I had my book was from these divine downloads. I would go to the beach, go for a walk, meditate, then be in a place of gratitude. And instead of writing down on a piece of paper with a pen, I would get poster board and with markers and post-it notes, create what is a mind map. Are you familiar with the mind map concept? If you're not, you could Google it. Mind mapping, it's a way to access your right brain, because our left brain is focused on problem solving and analyzing. And oftentimes we get stuck in a loop. Einstein says you cannot solve a problem from the consciousness that created it. And if you are thinking, what should I talk about in this speech? Most likely you're going to end up texting, you're going to be on social media, maybe watching TV, having a glass of wine. You're going to be procrastinating. And I have a whole other talk I could give you on procrastinating. If we have time at the end of this, I'll tell you the divine download of the 5 steps to overcome procrastination. If not, you can go to my YouTube channel. It's Deborah Deras Live.com. Subscribe and look up the video on 5 steps to overcome procrastination. It's fantastic. I don't want to procrastinate telling you that. One more time, DeborahDarasLive.com. So after I go for a walk, go on the beach, I'm meditating and then I'm grateful. And then I have my markers and my post-it notes. I create a mind map. And how mind maps work is you have one concept, like my expertise is peak performance. So on on a circle, I would write peak performance. And then I would write on another circle connected to it, energy efficiency. And then on another circle, I might write time expansion. And then underneath time expansion, I might write let go list. Underneath energy efficiency, I might write energy balance sheet. And what happens is the way the brain works in branches, you get to flesh out the idea from big concept, the macro, to the micro little concepts. If you don't want to do this by hand, which I highly recommend because you access your right brain when you do it by hand, especially with crayons or markers or anything that elicits that creative part of your brain. You could also download an app. There's apps that you could do mind mapping. But the point is that from your life experience, from your education, whether it's formal education or hard knocks education, what books you've read, courses you've taken, podcasts you've listened to, webinars you've been on, certification courses you've done, you've got expertise. The key is to consolidate it into an organized way that will allow your listener, which is your audience, to be able to receive it in a digestible tone. Does that make sense? You have to speak in a way that people can hear, which means you don't want to give too many high level concepts that people can't grasp and you're just talking over their head. On the opposite side of the spectrum, you don't want to get too into the little minutia of your life that it doesn't apply to them because it's so specific to you and your life and your experience. So there's got to be a happy medium where it's focused on your audience's top 3 pain or problems. And I say top 3 because you would love to solve all of their problems. But frankly, there's not enough time. I don't care how long your program is. I mean, even if you had a full 8-hour day, even if you had a full week, there's not enough time. So basically, what your keynote speech is, if it's 45 minutes or 90 minutes, it's giving them the high level, this is the solution to your problem. Here are the facts. Here's a story, because how the mind remembers is in stories. This is why powerful storytellers like Les Brown or Mimi Donaldson or Lisa Nichols are so memorable. It's because stories stick more in the mind, right? They're just easier to remember. So, a format that you could do is have facts, have a story to back it up, and then what I like to do, and you could do it or not, is I'll give like a call to action. So let me give you an example. So I'm going to be giving a talk on how to create a mindful and energized workplace through the power of the mind, the mindset for success, to have innovation, creativity, and peak performance, right? So, my first level concept would be that we have the power of choice. We choose how we respond to circumstances. We could react or we could respond. And this is based on the chapter of my book. Now that I have a book, my content is so much easier because I'm, for the most part, always referring to one of the principles from my book. So in the book, we talk about, do you want to react to things where you're coming from a place of fear, or do you want to respond when you're coming from a place of power? And I teach people to get into that responsive mode, which is a high level of emotional intelligence, through mindfulness and through a process of reframing that I call TEBR. And so during the course of the keynote speech, I will lead them through an experiential mindfulness process and through an exercise using my reframe technique. So I'm not just going to talk about it, I'm going to facilitate exercises where they are going to literally in the moment be able to transform their life. That's the kind of speaker I am. But I am a very interactive, engaging, highly impactful speaker. Other people are more lecture based speakers. Some people do like magnificent things. Like I saw this guy paint a painting on the stage, another person singing. Like there's all these different things you could do. For me, so much of my speaking is my energy. So I transfuse my energy to them so they feel that that they optimize their energy and really feel synergized by the end of my talk. Okay. Synergize meaning that they can do more than they could before through the power of synergy, 1+1 being infinite instead of two. Okay. Which is another principle for my book. So that's an example. Um, when I go to speak, what I do, in fact, I'm looking at it right now, and I do this for the podcast too, is I put everything on a whiteboard or on a white post-it note. You know, they have baby post-it notes, but they also have easel size post-it notes. And especially when I'm preparing for a big keynote like I am right now, where I have thousands of people in the audience, I want to be embodying and marinating on my content for months before I talk. Usually I get booked 9 months, a year ahead. I don't want to wait till the week or the month or the 6 weeks before to start already knowing what I'm going to talk about. So what I do is I have these post-it notes on my wall in my office. So every time I go in my office, subconsciously on a subliminal um, means they're getting into my mind. So when I'm speaking, it's not memorizing, it's embodying. It's like the concepts are a part of me, they're a part of my soul. They're not something that I'm thinking about. And you can tell when people are thinking when they're speaking. I don't know if you know this, my friends, but I'm certified in neuro linguistic programming, NLP, which is how we process information, how we communicate. And there is a way to see when people are trying to remember something by their eyes. When they look up to the left, they're trying to remember something. When they're making something up, they look up to the right because that's the side of the brain to capture the information. I was doing a training with the sheriff's department. I was teaching them how to know when their perpetrators were lying, and I was teaching them these techniques. Pretty cool, right? You could try this at home with your significant other. Just kidding. Don't do it. Anyway, so what I do is I have them on the wall and they're just ready to go. And I don't memorize my speeches because Philip was asking, so how do you prepare? Do you have them memorized? What I memorize is the beginning and the end and the points in the middle. What I don't memorize is word for word how I'm going to tell each story. Because what I found is, I used to spend hours and hours writing out speeches. They'd be like 25 pages. And then I would get to the hotel when I was about to speak and I would be rewriting the speech. And then guess what? I would get up on the podium. And by the way, I never stand behind the podium. I don't recommend you do either, because that's creating a barrier between you and the audience. I get, in the middle of the stage and then I walk on the stage purposefully and intently. So I'm looking at the people on the right, looking at the people on the left and in the middle. Your job should be to connect with each and every one in the room, even if you're doing it in sections. And that's another art and a skill we can talk about on another podcast. In fact, I'm going to invite Mimi Donaldson, one of my favorite speakers. She wrote the book Pitch Perfect because she talks a lot about that in her book on how to prepare and all of the different 5 levels of preparation. But how I prepare is I memorize the intro, I memorize the outro, and then the points in the middle. And the intro and the outro is something that I learned from Blair Singer. I don't know if you're familiar with Blair Singer. He wrote the book Sales Dogs, but he did the Train the Trainer program with Peak Potentials, T. Harv Eker, back when I was a success coach with T. Harv Eker. He wrote the book Secrets of a Millionaire Mind, had a multi-million-dollar training company, which he sold, and I think he's still doing some things. I'm not quite sure. But Blair Singer taught me a formula that I teach when I do the Be a Paid Speaker Now Academy and the Ignite Your Speaking courses and when I coach people one-on-one. But it gave me a template on how to be able to do my intro and how to be able to do my outro. But I want to let you know that is what they're going to remember. They're going to remember the beginning and they're going to remember the end when you drop the mic. Just kidding. Don't drop the mic. But metaphorically, drop the mic. Don't physically drop the mic because you'll get fired. Metaphorically, I want you to drop the mic. I want you to give, not I want you, I dare you. My last name is Deras. I dare you, my friends, to leave them with more than they expected. Give them all of you. your heart, your mind, your soul. This is why I have no energy left when I'm done with the speaking engagement, because I leave it all on the stage in the audience. So give them so much that they're going to want you back and they're going to book you back. And that's how I have been in this industry for 17 years. If you do a great job with speaking, then you're going to be constantly booking return gigs from the current gigs that you're doing. So that's basically the way that you're going to be doing it. But you need to be very strategic. And I'll talk about that on another call on how to book speaking engagements from your audience. So we have the intro memorized, we have the outro memorized, and I recommend that you have some intro music. I had some music created for me by a musician. And the reason for that, I mean, I'd love to use J Lo and everything, but if you're going to video record it and put it on YouTube and you use J Lo and you don't have the rights for it, guess what YouTube's going to do? They're going to take down your video because you don't have the rights. Or worse, they're going to mute your video. That's the last thing you need. You did such a great speech and now nobody can see it because you use J Lo music. So that's why this is a pro tip, my friends. I use my own music that I had created, and it's fantastic. Has a little salsa beat. It's really amazing. In fact, it's the music on this podcast. You already know it. So that's the music I use, my walk up to the stage music. And be strategic with your walk up. Make sure that you're sitting very, very close to the stage so it's not a far walk, so you can save your energy for the stage. But be ready to go. Don't, be setting things up or be adjusting things. When you walk up to the stage, you're already on. It's not when you get to the stage, it's when they start reading your intro. Pro tip: make sure you write a compelling intro. I have templates for intros that are amazing. You need to make sure that you hit those main points. Okay. In addition to, writing out the intro and the outro, I mean, the conclusion, and then knowing the points in the middle and breaking those down, I like to rehearse minimal 3 times out loud. And say it's a 90-minute talk, I won't rehearse 90 minutes straight over and over again. I will do it in sections. So I'll do section 1, intro, section 2, conclusion, section 3, first part of the story, or first point, section, and the next section will be the next part. And you don't even have to go in order because the brain, it doesn't matter. You could rehearse it, starting with the outro, with the conclusion, and then go to the intro. The point is to get it deep embedded in your subconscious mind. And it's not enough just to look at it. You need to say it because there's certain words that you might trip over, or there's certain stories that need some smoothing over, or there's just certain adjustments you may need. And you're not going to know that until you say it out loud. It's so important to say it out loud. So I highly recommend that you practice. I practice in front of a mirror. You could video record it. I always audio record it. And the reason I audio record it is for time. And also when I'm driving in the car, it enables me to be able to listen to it. And this is another thing. Let me tell you, I am an auditory digital processor, meaning I learn best by speaking out loud. You may learn best by visualizing. So you're having it on the wall is really going to help you. Other people learn best by doing it. So getting the feeling by standing in front of a real audience, you can go to a Toastmasters group. What I'm doing is before I have my big speech, is I'm doing a small version of the same talk at a church. It's not the same big bucks, but it's going to definitely give me the feeling of what it's like when people's eyeballs are looking at you. Because your stories are one thing when you're at home smiling at yourself. They're another thing, especially if you're telling like a tragic story when people are looking at you. Because I have told the story of my brother passing away, and sometimes I cry, sometimes I don't. But inevitably, somebody in the audience, it triggers something with the loss they have, and they start crying. So you need to be able to handle that so you get the mood and the energy of the crowd back up and where you want it, and that you do it in a timely manner so you're not leaving the people, emotionally impacted. So that's really important. So make sure that you're practicing your content several times. Another person asked me, I don't remember their name, is how do you stay focused when you're speaking? Let me tell you, friends, For those of you that know me already know I'm a little ADD, maybe ADHD, I think is the proper diagnosis that I was given. Like when I was 40, by the time I found out I was ADD, it was too late. I'd already lived my life. I'm like, well, if I've gotten this far, I'm not going to go on medication now. I told the doctor, meditation is my medication, and thank you very much. Wouldn't recommend that for everyone, but for me, that's what I do. But, attention is an issue for me, right? So, what I do, and I do this on the pre event questionnaire, is I ask them not to have them serving food when I'm speaking. Because sometimes when you're the luncheon speaker, they will literally have waiters walking around with plates. And even worse than plates is the silverware touching the plate. It's to me, it's like nails on a chalkboard. It drives me crazy. And the clinkling, crinkling, chinkling of the glasses, it's annoying. And I just can't focus. The other thing I can't focus with is when there is another event that's going on where they are louder than me. Because I've done events where, like, Home Depot hired me to do the speaking thing, and it was in their parking lot. And there was so much going on, I could not maintain my focus and concentration. So, number one, I know the kind of environment I need, and I ask for it. And you should ask for it too, because you want to, and frame it not that you're being a diva, frame it and you want to make sure that the audience gets the best you possible. And the best you is going to be possible if you have that focused energy. So make sure you ask them about the environment. Another thing that's super important, do it now so you don't end up like me, is that you uh, make sure you have a microphone. If there's any more than 50 people in a room, you need a microphone. And if for some reason they don't have one, you should buy one and bring it. The reason for that is you will lose your voice. Do you hear my voice? It is not the voice that I had when I started in 2002 as a professional speaker. If you go to my YouTube channel, DeborahDerasLive.com, please subscribe. Thank you very much. You will see my first demo reel from 2002, and it is absolutely a sweet little voice. And that is not the voice I have now. I've learned to live with this voice. It's sexy. I like it. Hello there. But it's not my original voice. I would love for all of you to keep your original voice. How are you going to keep that original voice? By protecting your voice. My mom is a speech therapist, and some speakers work with vocal coaches. I asked my mom, is there anything I could do to get my voice back? She's like, what you really need is just vocal rest. I'm like, what does that mean, vocal rest? Shut up? And she's like, yeah, you can't be talking all the time. But I literally would be coaching clients during the day. I was doing 4-hour classes as a professor and then speaking. So, like 12 hours a day for 16 years, I was talking, and there's just no going back now. But for you, take care of your voice. Make sure you have warm water, not cold ice. Make sure that you're drinking tea and lemon and honey, and that you have rest breaks where you don't speak at all. Ask any singer, Mariah Carey, all these people. They have things that they do to take care of their voice to make sure that the damage doesn't happen, and it will happen. Alcohol is horrible for the voice. Smoking is horrible for the voice. Cold air is horrible for the voice. So these are things you want to avoid, especially the nights before you're going to be speaking. Cool? Excellent. Okay, what's next? So how do I stay focused on stage? One of the ways that I stay focused on stage is I am totally present in the moment. What do I mean by that? It's I don't take time before I go on stage to check my email or to do anything else but to meditate and be still. You want to be as still as possible so that all of your attention and your energy is just on solving the pain or problem that your audience has. And that will happen when you are in the moment. So it's a principle from my book called The Power of Now. And the power of now is being fully and totally present in that moment. And when you're fully and totally present in that moment, you will be able to achieve your goals. Cool? Okay. Another thing I do is I look at people that are smiling and looking back at me. And I'm like, oh my God, these people are fantastic. These people are really into it. Let me look at them. And they help me focus and help me stay on track. So there's always going to be one or two people that really love you, that are just like so into you. And these are the people that you really want to focus on. What do you do on stage to prepare? So, what I do on stage to prepare is I make sure the night before that I do that sound check. I make sure that I am totally cool with the way that things are set up in the room, like the way that they have the chairs. One time they totally changed the room that I was supposed to be in, and I was going to be like next to this very loud wedding. And like I told you, I already know myself. Anything that's going to be loud is going to distract me. So you definitely want to be in a room that's conducive to have your message across. So you want to make sure that the stage and the podium and the microphone, I prefer to have a lapel mic rather than a head mic, because when I'm walking around, I'm very active. Uh, the only thing for women, if you have that lavalier type mic, if you're wearing a dress, there might be nowhere to hook it. Usually with men, or if you're wearing slacks, you can just hook it on your belt buckle and hide it under your blazer. But if you're wearing a dress, there may be not a place to hook it. Oftentimes, we've hooked it on the back of my dress where the zipper is on top, or I've worn a belt so that there was a place to hook. But you want to be mindful of that with your wardrobe to make sure. So ask them about the microphone beforehand. Otherwise, use a handheld so that it's going to be something that you practice with. The other thing that I do on stage or right before I get on the stage is I'll take a moment just to be still, just to just get quiet and listen to the still small voice that gave me the divine downloads. But also, and this is a mastery tip, to tune into the audience, because often when I do this tune in time, I'll get divine downloads and things to do that I wouldn't normally get, that are particularly for that audience. That, like, there's a story that they need to hear that I wasn't planning on saying, but I need to do it. It'll just be this little image or this little thought that, oh, that would be something good to tell. So it's really, really important that we're mindful of not being cookie cutter and doing. I've heard speakers do it. I'm not saying that you can't and make big bucks. I've heard a lot of speakers, but the speakers that I coach and that I train, I don't have them be cookie cutter template, same speech every time. I have them customize it. And you can customize your speech by tuning in. And this is something not all of you can do. I mean, you literally all can do it, but you all may not want to do it. This is the power of your right brain and your intuition. We all have the power to use our right brain, not just the people that are creative or artistic. Everybody has the power of the right brain, but some people are more comfortable using the right brain. Some people are just less analytical, and they're just able to be present with themselves. And other people, their brains are too fast, they're too analytical, they won't trust their intuition. So if you are that kind of person that you do trust your intuition, you're going to have that edge, because you're not only just going to say what you're supposed to say, but you're going to say what people need to hear at that particular time. And they're going to feel like you're speaking exactly to them, and it's going to be a very miraculous experience. So I just want you to know that you have that power. So it's in you, all of you. So another thing that I do to prepare myself for the speech is I do a prayer. And my prayer is always that I am the messenger for the message, that everything that needs to be said is said, that it happens through me and not from me, and that I let go of my ego or any need to please or be seen, and allow the the pains and problems and challenges of the audiences to be brought up, to be solved, to be resolved, to be answered, to be demonstrated, and that they leave here inspired, fulfilled, transformed, and that I book an abundant amount of paid speaking engagements after. And so it is. Amen. Feel free to play that. That was a good one right there, my friends. So that's what I do, basically, something like that, not verbatim, whatever prayer I want to come up with, but something along those lines. But for me, it's really important. I mean, when you see Beyonce or Madonna or any artist, before they go on stage, they usually circle up and pray. It's something most performers do. If you are not a spiritual or religious person, that doesn't resonate with you, then you could just, you could just ask your higher self to focus, and that you're being guided and led to say what needs to be said. But I really believe in the power of intention and taking that time to really anchor it and prepare for it. So I hope this was helpful. I basically went through and I answered all the questions that you had been emailing me on how I prepare to speak. I have much more information on how to make your audiences, your sales team, how to do social media for speaking. I have in the Be a Paid Speaker Now program a Facebook for speakers, Instagram for speakers, LinkedIn for speakers, YouTube for speakers. I was able to book a huge $60,000 contract through YouTube. There's so many ways that we can be discovered and found online, but we need to be able to know what is our calling card, what is it that we're going to be known for on the microphone. And then when we know that, we can brand that. So more to come in future episodes. If any of you are interested in the Ignite Your Speaking program, that is going to be launching in September. But although if you're listening to this later, you can join anytime. It's an ongoing membership program. So you don't have to be here from the beginning in September. You can come October, November, January, whenever is good for you. And you will get amazing content information to be able to get your expertise and be paid to speak. Thank you so much for listening. Please remember to write a review, share it with a friend, and message me. Let me know what topics you want for future episodes. Let me know who you want me to interview as a speaker on the show, and I will be happy to do that. I want to remind you that with the power of synergy, guess what? Anything is possible. Remember, you are the messenger for the message, and with the power of synergy, anything is possible. Thanks for listening. If you would like to receive a free ebook on how to speak with confidence, you can get it at deborahderas.com/speaknow. You can also listen to previous episodes of our podcast at deborahderas.com/podcast. And remember to subscribe and write a review on our channel. We want to hear from you and what you would like to hear more of.